Welcome to my daily review. Today is Monday, April 14th. Tomorrow's tax day. Got to file for an extension if you're not ready to pay Uncle Sam. All right, anyway, uh, they're taking a look at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which advanced 107 points or 0.64% with 17% above the 50-day average volume. You can see the volume was higher than Friday, and today was day six of an attempted rally, but we didn't have enough juice here. We didn't have enough. We need to have more than 1% or higher. I mean, when you have a follow-through day, it should really feel powerful, like last Wednesday, how it really felt, it was up 12%. So you don't need something that powerful, but you should not have to question it. It should be pretty noticeable, especially in your portfolio. But one thing about the follow-through days, you need leading stocks to lead the market higher. And we're just, seeing some stocks set up in bases. It's starting to look pretty promising. A lot of double bottom bases, but we're just not quite there yet. I did want to point out that on Wednesday, the Nasdaq had a high of 17,202. I would really like to see it take that out, and it couldn't do it today. At 17,136 was the high. So I'm looking for stocks that might be leaders that traded above last Wednesday's high. And I'm going to show you a few of them. Always looking for the leading stocks. That's going to tell us the health of the market. So the Nasdaq looks pretty good. We could have a V-shaped recovery. I'm not ruling that out at all. My theory is that's your one leg down, that's your two leg down. You get this little, a bear wedge pattern here, and you get the third leg down, then we rallied. And so this could be a V-shaped rally where we just kind of take off back above 18 and live happily ever after. Anyway, you got to be flexible, you got to be open-minded. This could certainly lead to another leg down and that which would constitute a third leg down if you think that was the first leg and this is the second leg. I'm not in that camp, but who cares? Anyway, we'll take it one day at a time. And like I said, when it's summertime, I'll let you know if that was the third leg down or not. Anyway, I've got to get to some of the I want to get to some of the stocks here today because it was a pretty important day for some of these names here. But first, I want to get to the S&P 500, which could not take out last Wednesday's high, which was 54.81. Today's high was 54.59. Still a nice day, up, nearly um, 1% here, more than three-quarters of a percent, up 42 points, closed at 5,405. The volume was lighter than Friday's volume on the S&P 500. And the winner for the day was actually the IWM. It was up more than 1% here, but the volume wasn't as high as last Friday. So no follow-through days in any of the indexes today. We're watching. Tomorrow will be day seven. All right. I mentioned that I wanted to get to some of these bigger names here in the stock market. And a lot of people give me a hard time about if the market's going higher, of course, Apple and Microsoft and Meta and NVDA and Tesla, they're going to take us higher. But my point is, like, if the Nasdaq makes new highs, these stocks are going to go higher. All right. Like if the Nasdaq goes up to 21 or 22,000, Apple and NVIDIA and Microsoft and Google and Meta are going to go higher. But my point is, I'm looking for two baggers, five baggers, 10 baggers. I'm looking for the grand slams in the market, the leading stocks that are going to take us higher. Maybe it's the leading stocks. I shouldn't say leading stocks because these large mega cap, $3 trillion dollar market cap stocks will take the Nasdaq higher. But I'm looking for 10 baggers. I'm swinging for the fences. When you swing for the fences, you strike out from time to time. But that's what I'm looking for. Smaller market cap stocks, 2 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion that could go to 50 billion or 100 billion and really change your portfolio. These are a lot safer. And yeah, they're going to go up and lead the NASDAQ higher. But I'm not looking for, 10% or 20%. Like I said, I'm looking for those swinging for the fences, looking for the home runs. Anyway, shut up, Marty. Anyway, this is Apple. And you talk about three legs down here, very pronounced here with Apple. I said, a lot of these stocks sold off before the index really flopped. There's your one leg down, a rally back up, two legs down, and you get your, your bear wedge, and then that third wave down. Now, Apple traded higher today than last Wednesday when it powered higher 15%, made that high of 200, then pulled back a little bit on Thursday. Friday had a nice day. I wanted to point out on Friday because I was noticing Apple on Friday when it was just trading higher all day. It had this, what day is this? The 11th. Here it opened up a little lower, but all day it was being bought. Every dip was being bought, just rallying higher. Little dip here being bought, kind of, flatten out into the close. But it was higher all day on Friday, and somebody knew, of course, that there might be some news over the weekend. And today it gapped higher, closed near the lows of the session, which, is unfortunate. You don't want to see that. But it opened higher. I think it was like 211 or 212. Yeah, almost 213. Closed at 12% of its daily range. So not a good, I mean, it's up 2%, but, sold off all day. Apple did. Anyway, it's back up. It's a $3 trillion market cap. Like I said, for that thing to double, I mean, it's not going to do it anytime soon. Certainly not in 2025 or 2026. It's going to take some time. So anyway, that's my distinction between these mega cap tech stocks and, a five bagger, a 10 bagger. NVIDIA had, positive news over the weekend, we thought, and then it said this morning, they're going to build some supercomputers, but it could not rally back over Wednesday's high of 115.10, where it was up nearly 19%. Today's high was 114.29, so that's important. This is stalling here below the moving averages. Yeah, I'm not going to point out the death cross again because that's just kind of a silly little indicator. Meta platforms. Now, I was really disappointed with the Dr. No from Biden's administration because she was really draconian and you didn't see a lot of deals getting done because she rejected a lot of them. But now they're going after Ferguson now is going after Meta platforms. And I'm really disappointed here with this. And you're not seeing a lot of IPO stocks. We're not seeing a lot of deals, which tells you that companies are not really confident in this market. It's a little too erratic. But with the FTC going after Meta as a monopoly here, I don't know. It's a little disappointing. And Meta had the high on Wednesday at 587, not even getting close to that today. 557 was the high. So that's an indication to me that these things are going to lag for a little bit here, just on a more of a short-term basis. Amazon too, I think retail is going to be tough here. Amazon's high on Wednesday was 192.65. Today's high was 187. So this stalling type of action tells me these are not going to be, the leaders. When the market, if that B-shaped rally does materialize, these are not the stocks, that are going to be leading, in my opinion, just because they can't make new highs over last week's high. Come on, man, get on the stick. Anyway, all right, I'm going to get off that. I'm going to go to Goldman Sachs because they reported earnings this morning. Nice response, up nearly 2% with volume. But the thing that was helped Goldman was their trading desk. So they're somehow magically they're really good traders. I shouldn't say anything more than that, but that helped Goldman Sachs. And obviously we've heard from, Wells Fargo, the banks have done pretty well. And then tomorrow we're going to hear from Bank of America. So we'll see what they have to say in the morning. And Citigroup reports as well Tuesday morning. So look forward to hearing from those banks. All right, I'm going to get off the banks and excuse me. No, I've got one more because I like Hood. I'd mentioned that, the stocks that made their high last Wednesday when we had that turnaround, that the highest percentage day on the Nasdaq, the second highest, the highest since January 3rd of 2001. Robinhood made a high of 42.68, then had an inside day on Thursday, but Pop showed more strength on Friday and made a high of 43.79. And if you look at the weekly chart here, this has been about 8 or 9 weeks where it's been consolidating, pulled back to its 40-week line, and then bounced. But it was up last week like 27%. So anytime you have a move like that straight off the lows, you gotta expect some profit taking. It's not just going to rip right through the 50, right? There's going to be all these people who, bought in this area. And once they get back to their 44, 45, 43 or whatever, they're going to sell, right? They get back to even, yippee-ki-yay. So there's going to be those profit takers. Maybe they bought at the 200 and it bounced. They bought it, what was it, down to $30 last week or even lower. Went down to what, 2029. Last Wednesday it was down to, okay, 33. So there's going to be some profit taking. So you got to allow those folks to get out of the way. I mean, it's not just going to go straight up. This is one that I do like, and one that I should go back to the weekly here. Yeah, the consolidation, even if it had a short stroke pattern this week, I'd be fine with that if it just traded sideways. But you got to look that it traded above last Wednesday's high. It's way above last Wednesday's high. Broke above this downtrending line on Friday. And that's why I kept it on my ready list for this week. I had it last week, but I still think this thing's going to go higher. Is It powers through the 50 eventually. Like I say, you got to be patient. You got to give these things some time. You got to let the mechanics of the trade work. Allow some of those profit takers to take profits and get out of the way, and some of the more of the stronger hands or the diamond hands who sucked up these shares here will continue to add here. I believe this thing's going higher. You could see last week had the highest volume that it's had in a long, long time. So give it some time to work through its trade here, but encouraging that it's trading above last Wednesday's high. To me, that tells me this is probably going to be one of the leading stocks that we can look forward to. We've got a lot of these double bottom base patterns here, a lot of them, and a lot of these leading stocks. And it just stands to reason in a volatile market. You have the initial wave of selling, then you get some buyers that come in thinking that's the bottom. Then you get the folks saying, shoot, I'm out of here. I'm tired of this market. I'm sick of this stock. I'm just going to get rid of it. And you get the massive selling near the capitulation there at the lows. And then the buying comes in. All right. Buyers start nibbling. And yeah, to me, Robinhood making the high above last Wednesday's high is significant. I think it's going higher, breaking above the downtrend line here. I think there's a lot to like in Robinhood. Anyway, that's not the only stock. I've got off my tangent there because what I wanted to do is go to the gold stocks because I know a lot of folks are giving up on gold. Gold's over. Gold was down 1% today, and this is OR making a new high. You can see it is the top group, top stocks and the top group making new highs. Hello, what's not to like? Another double bottom base pattern here, breakout. Look at that shakeout, down near the 200. Just a bunch of them here today. And the gold, I was really surprised because I expected a pullback. And they started to pull back at the open. Like I said, gold was down 1%, but they really finished strong today. This is Franco Nevada, Canadian gold miner, just making new highs. A WPM. This is Wheaton making new highs today. Excuse me. I mean, stocks making new highs. You don't need any more indicators than new highs. There's nothing more bullish than a new high. Yeah, they're getting extended from their moving averages. I get that. And I should use the 5. This is the 10 here, 14% above the 10, but I should use the 5 because they are responding to the 5 EMA. I just don't feel like switching it right now. Kinross Gold, KGC, another one of these Canadian miners making a new high today. AEM, Agnico Eagle, another Canadian miner making new highs. I don't know. Uh, I've got a couple of friends who are just, gotta short this, you gotta short it, it's going lower. I said, nah, the trend is your friend until it bends at the end. And to me, this is still trending higher, so it's not bending. So there's nothing to do here, but just kind of hold on to your gold stocks. This is Royal Gold. Another one is SAND, SAND. Sandstorm Gold making new highs, and another Canadian miner making new highs. I know it's only an $8 stock. I don't care. It's making new highs, trading higher. There's just a ton of them. I just wanted to point that out there that gold is not over. GLD, I believe, is the yeah, the exchange traded fund. Yeah, that was down slightly today, but still, yeah, gold overall still strong. It's a strong trade. I just showed you a ton that made new highs today. One that didn't was Anglo Gold Ashanti, just an inside day today, allowing the moving averages to catch up. And since I popped off earlier, I might as well go through the change to the 5. So you can see here, this is now this green line. This is the 5 EMA. It's been respecting the 5 the entire time. Had that sell off there 2 weeks ago. And then last week had a nice move higher. And then today, an inside day, just allowing that moving average to catch up. But yeah, as long as it's above the 5, I mean, these things are looking fantastic. All right, now I've got to go to some names that I think I mentioned earlier about you got to watch these stocks, trading at highs above that powerful move last Wednesday where CrowdStrike was up 16.3%. It made a high of 382. Today made a high above that level, 389. So this is telling me this thing wants higher, nice, double bottom base pattern, which I tell you, we're seeing a lot of these in these stocks. And to me, these are just setting up. These are setting up for the move higher. So when the Nasdaq breaks, we have a follow through day. I think these are the stocks to watch. I could be wrong, but I think these are. And there's quite a few of them. And CrowdStrike's kind of the go-to in the cybersecurity space. I'm going to get to a couple others, but I want to point out Palantir. These guys had news this morning with NATO, but definitely another one of these double bottom bases, right? Whoosh, trading above the downtrending line today. I don't know. I kind of like the looks of Palantir. It did open higher, gave you the old okey doke at the morning, Monday morning gaps higher, suckers play. They're built for selling, not buying. As you could see, made a high, right near the open there, 97.33, 5 minutes in, sold off, made another charge higher, but eventually sold off into the close. So that was the old okey doke. Uh, Professionals just taking that spike, selling it, taking profits. Still though, it was up nearly 5% on the day, and definitely one to watch. Now closing right at its 50 simple moving average. So Palantir definitely showing strength, and like I said, it's just setting up. These bases are just setting up. They're not ready yet, but they're just setting up. Rubrik going back to the computer software security group. This one, Pattern Rec, is picking up this double bottom base. This one again making the high above last Wednesday's high, barely 62.63, and today was 62.71. And just like CrowdStrike, just like Palantir, making a high above last Wednesday's high, forming a double bottom base, showing strength. These are possible leaders. I believe Rubrik. I was going to put this one on the ready list, but I put CrowdStrike instead. I actually like this one better than CrowdStrike because I believe it has the ability to be, a two bagger or a three bagger or a five bagger in 2025. But you just got to give these things time to work themselves through these bases. Okta, oh boy, I had this one on the ready list a while back around that one, I don't know, 110, and it made a high of 118, just sold off like everything else. When we got liberated, we got squashed, and then we got unliberated last Wednesday, and this thing made a high on Wednesday of what was it? What the ninth was 102.94, and today made a high of 104.77. So this one's showing signs, closed near the lows. I don't like that, but oh boy. Anyway, Okta is one that I'm watching. I got to look at the weekly here. It's been a long, 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 long time in this base. Pulled back to its 40-week line last week and bounced pretty much like everything else, but just one that I'm watching, along with CrowdStrike and a Rubric. Another one, Charles River Lab. This is a different group here that I'm looking at. And since I'm switching over, I'm going to start with this one, the medical research group. This one was up 7% today. Just observing, up with volume type of stock, but this thing's been in the tank, obviously sold off hard. TMDX is another one in this group. It's kind of forming this stage one base and looks like it wants to, break out of this stage one base where it gapped lower after earnings. And now it's in this little stage one, I guess you'd call it a Darvis box. Wow, traded at a low of 55. Now it's at 86, so it needs to break out of this box here. I'd say, I don't know, above 90 would be a good start there. 89. So TMDX, definitely one that's showing strength, one that I like. There was a couple others in this group, and now I wrote them down. What did I do with this? Oh yeah, Schrodinger. Now these guys got the benefit of RFK saying they're not going to use animal for testing, so more AI, which suits Schrodinger. Also, Schrodinger settled a lawsuit last week, so this medical research group looking good. ZLAB is another one. This is a China name. I think I had on the ready list a while back, and it traded pretty well. Then all of a sudden, like everything else, it really fell out. Traded down to its 200-pound support. Now bounced the last couple of days. Got rejected here today. It found resistance at the 50, so it needs to drive through that area, but up nearly 7%. So a lot of these, medical, biotech names, and since I'm there, I might as well go to Pfizer because Pfizer had a failed where they absolutely scrapped their weight loss trial. So, they want to get in the weight loss game. They're going to, and with the failed, wow, it was even up today with they just said we're done with this. And so speculation is that they're in the market for Viking. So Viking, which has just got, fabulous trials, but, no drug to market. They need a partner. They need to get bought out. Viking was up nearly 11% today on the failed weight loss. They just kind of scrapped the program. And GPCR is another one that benefited from the news from Pfizer today, up 20%. So just something to watch. I mean, obviously Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are the kings of this group. Wow, Novo sold off, so you can't even see it down there. Lilly, superior product here. I made a deal with Hims recently, up 3% today. I don't think Pfizer really bothers Lilly, but anyway. I'm going to move on from the weight loss drug scene and go to a couple other big name drugs that you really got to be careful in this time because, the policies from the administration are really throwing a wrench in people's investing styles, and it's being really erratic. This is an American company. I believe their drugs are manufactured in America. It's sold off like everything else, but now it's rallied back above its 50. So that's showing strength. This is Vertex Pharmaceutical. Real strong. You can see over time, this thing just grinds higher. Yeah, it had 3 or 4 weeks there where it sold off, pretty much like everything else. But now it's found its footing. It's stabilizing in this base here. So I like this one here with this like breaking out of that bull wedge pattern here where it sold off. The volume was a little strong for a bull wedge, but that little sell off here, kind of heavy-handed sell off, kind of heavy on the volume. But it's the news. It's got a lot of people rattled. This is a headline-driven market, and the news is driving the stocks all over the place. One company that had good news today, but nobody even knows about this thing, it seems like. But this is TG Therapeutics, TGTX. Now they have another one of these bull wedge patterns. I left this one on the red list. Today they had the key opinion leaders. I think it was the gentleman from doctor from Stanford. They have these education centers, and this is where drugs get market share where they key opinion leaders, praise these companies. This is a superior drug to the other drugs in the market. And he said that one fourth to one third of his patients have been switched from the Roche drug, which had their, sloppy trial last or 2 weeks ago when TGTX had this spike here. What day was this? Yeah, Roche had a bad trial on Oceverus, and this thing spiked 5%, but then continued to sell off like everything else. Hit that low on Wednesday of 31. The high there last, what was it? Wednesday? No, that was Monday. Wednesday was the ninth. I'm going to the ninth here. See, this one doesn't trade with the market. When the market was ripping, this thing was up like 1%. Anyway, it made a high above these highs from when everything else was ripping. Today it was up 4.63%. And the point is with these key opinion leaders saying they're switching their patients from competition to Briumvi. This is their drug, Briumvi. They're taking market share. And I know it's only one doctor, but this is the top drug in relapsing multiple sclerosis being recommended. They're taking market share. I believe Roche had 6.5 billion in annual sales last year for Oceverus, which is their multiple sclerosis drug. So these guys are taking share. This is yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say from here. I mean, just they're taking market share. They're going to have a strong quarter. I mean, if you look over time, I mean, it's just been grinding higher. Formed a base, rallied up, formed another base, broke out, but then pulled back the last 3 weeks. It formed that, like I said, that bull wedge pattern. And then today, I've got to change that too. It rallied up. I got to change that to the 10 because most stocks right now are lucky to be above their 50. And you could see that I showed you stocks that are getting rejected at their 50, but this one's above its 10 here. It's 2.2% above the 10 and 7.4% above the 15. Try finding a lot of stocks with this kind of sales above their 50. They're very rare. I showed a list at mcstockcharts.com and there's not a lot of them. So anyway, yeah, definitely one that I like. Another one that I like is Halo. Got the good fundamentals, and I'm a stickler for fundamentals. Over the long term, it just depends on your time frame. If you're a day trader or a swing trader, which I am a swing trader, then fundamentals don't matter that much. But if you want to hold something for long term, they better be taking market share and have some solid sales and earnings growth. You can see the earnings line here heading north on Halo. It's been consolidating within a base, had the wild shakeout down to the 40-week line. But anyway, that's it for the drugs. I'm going to get off the drugs here. Just say no. I got a couple more things before I finish. One is the hotel group got downgraded this morning by a couple of different firms. We heard from United Airlines last week, or no, it was Delta Airlines, I believe, about fewer international flights, so fewer foreigners traveling to the United States. And also, we've got the report from Canada that from the northern border, like 32% fewer people from Canada entering the United States, which impacts hotels, restaurants, museums, the gambling, all aspects. Fewer people and fewer business, that's all. So these things got downgraded. I'd be careful here with retail and with this, this was my boomer trade, but it fell out, since, new policies. So, you just got to roll with it. That's just the market that we have right now. Marriott was downgraded by a couple of firms here. So yeah, you just got to be careful with this new administration, new policies, and just a new paradigm in the market. So you just gotta you gotta roll with it or get run over. And I just wanted to point out that a lot of these retail names have been hit. The hotels were downgraded. You can see Crocs and Deckers and Nike. These ones have been sold off hard. Yeah. And so I want to point out, though, I got to point out the strength with some of this weakness here. This is TJX. This is bucking the trend here. double bottom base now made a new high today. So some stocks are making new highs here. Casey's making new highs above last Wednesday's high, and then Brinker International, one that's, was a big leader, now above last Wednesday's high, 150.99. Today was 151.89. So just something to keep in mind. I did mention gambling. SRAD, Sport Radar Group. Somebody brought this to my attention. I don't know if it's at MC Stock Charts or YouTube or somewhere, but yeah, making a new high today. So this one looks good. This is we're constantly seeing this with a lot of these where it makes a low, rallies up, and then makes a lower low, a double bottom, and now this one's making a high above the 22.94 here. So yeah. Yeah, this is definitely one to watch. Sport radar. Yeah, sports gambling. So who doesn't like that? Anyway, no, I do have more. I have more stuff because China suspended rare earth and materials, MP materials, like rallied on that news, up 22% today. Also, USAR, this is, like I say, it's a news-driven market, up 41% on the news, so news is coming out fast and furious. And if you get if your position sized too heavy on the short side, then good news comes and you get your face ripped off. And if you get too long, then you get bad news and you get crushed. So it's hard to get size. I did raise my market condition to yellow and raise the size, so I think 20 to 30%, but you can't get too heavy on one side or the other. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. At mcstockcharts.com, we never give up. But we also like to honor the great Steve Jobs and say one more thing. I'd mentioned earlier that the Germany and the European stocks and the China stocks were doing well recently. You could see that, this had this big rally and then sold off like everything else. That's K-Web from China. BABA sold off. And then the German stock sold off, but I'm not going to go through that. The point I wanted to make is today we saw the Argentina stocks really rip higher. This is GGAL, foreign bank, Argentine bank, yeah, rallying up 14%. Just pointing it out, up with volume here. These stocks are up with volume. Just pointing it out here. It could be the start of something, or it could just be a one-day anomaly, but you can see the bounce off the 200. This is BBAR, which is a Argentine bank, SUPV, another one from Argentina, man, rallying up nearly 18%. So just pointing it out here, this volume here off the 200, nice bounce. And the other one is the oil and gas stock YPF. This is the one that Druckenmiller owns, and I believe it was upgraded this morning. I forget who upgraded it, but a 10% move, rejected at the 50. We're seeing a lot of this, and that doesn't mean that it's going to, go back down to the 200. It's just resistance for short term, and it could rally. It's above the 200, it's above the 10, it's above the 21. Just met with some resistance at this downtrending 50, so don't give up on that one. I'm going to be watching those ones as well. Another reminder that Friday, the market is closed for Good Friday, so the monthly options expire on Thursday, the 17th. So just beware of that. We only have three more trading sessions in this week. So anyway, Easter Sunday, so Good Friday, the market's closed. And at mcstockcharts.com, we never give up. Thank you for watching.